What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we are here with Heidi and Carla of the Butcher Babies. Great to be able to talk with all of you.
Woo!
Hey.
Hi, I'm here from sunny Las Vegas.
Ah,
And I'm right here in rainy Chicago.
wow. Wow,
Ooh.
and I'm here in New York, so we got like central United States, western United States, and eastern. I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
yep. We're here checking in from all over the United States.
Yeah, we need a person from like Europe to call just to make it more spread out.
Hold on. Let me call Europe.
But it's so awesome to have you here. As I was discussing before we started recording, I am super stoked for the show at Gramercy Theater with you guys, Stitched Up Heart, Infected Rain. It's going to be an epic lineup, an epic bill. But before we get into the tour, we do need to talk about a little bit of the future of where Butcher Babies is going, because we had three singles come out, which is Bottom of the Bottle, Sleeping with the Enemy, and Yorktown. Could this be maybe a good representation of what like the follow up to Lilith is going to be in a way?
I think you're going to be
Well,
really surprised, actually, because we've got more coming out that is completely different. But
yeah.
that's what we've always done. We've always mixed it up on our albums. And so it's funny when people suggest otherwise, like, oh my God, they've made a radio song. I can't handle it. My brain's going to explode. We literally, since the beginning of our career, have always written songs with big choruses and, and heavy riffs at the same time. So it's not something new for us. And what can I say? We like to explore. But the new stuff that's coming out is quite a departure from what we've already put out, and I'm really excited about it. I know Heidi is too.
Yeah, I mean, what we've already put out, the singles, it's so funny because Yorktown is probably heavier than a lot of the stuff you heard on Lilith. There's heavy parts, big choruses, but it's been like that. We in our on our very first album, we had some songs that didn't have screaming. Yeah, so it's pretty. This is It's pretty standard Butcher Baby is what you're getting right now. But the next song, like as Carla said, we're really excited. We've already leaked a lot of it, so you can hear it on our Facebook and Instagram. It comes out on August 27th, and it has an awesome feature. One of our pals and old time pals, actually, we've hung out with. With this friend since I'd say like 2008. I was in one of their music videos. So
Wow.
so it's a long time coming, and in the world where all the artists were home, it was just so easy to collab on new songs. So August 27th, new song coming out. So stay tuned.
I cannot wait to
Maybe
hear it.
one of the heaviest you've ever heard. I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, I remember discovering Butcher Babies. The first time I've heard of Butcher Babies is when you were announced for Mayhem Festival 2013. That's where I first heard the name. And I looked up Goliath, the album, and like to have a song like Mr. Slow Death, which I thought was really intense, really brutal, but then like one song that I still crank to this day was Here Comes the Massacre, because that chorus is just so epic and emotional. Like I was beyond it, to me it reminded me of like the throwback Shadows Fall, like All That Remains sort of era in a way, metalcore if you want to call it that for you to, but like so. And I've always thought that Butcher Babies was never afraid to take a new approach, because when you compare Goliath to Take It Like a Man to Lilith, it almost seems like experimentation was just part of your songwriting process, right?
We're just very diverse. Like we've always been super diverse, and I think it's that way because each of us in the band, like we all write. It's not just like two or three. Everyone writes together, so you're getting all influences in one. And I think that is super unique, and maybe that's why it's always been each song sounds different than the last. And I would never want to put out an album where all the songs sound the same. I would never want to put out a fourth album that sounds exactly like my first album. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It should be a progression. I mean, Carla and I are 10 years older now than we were when we started writing those initial songs. Maybe even more, like 12 years older.
Yeah,
We wrote,
12,
we wrote,
about 12 years older. So we gotta find new stuff to write about, like getting angry in your Orange Theory class or going to yoga and not having a good spot. Like those are the new metal themes that we've got going on this album. No, I'm totally joking.
Hey, it hasn't been done very often.
someone
It hasn't
Someone drank the rest of my protein shake.
hey, it hasn't been done often enough. I'm sick of hearing about Vikings, so maybe we could get something like that.
Shit, the next one's about Vikings.
Uh, oh well.
Just
Well,
kidding.
every metal band needs at least one song about it. So
We have we don't have a song about Vikings necessarily, but Axe Wound has a very Viking feel to it. And we always dreamed of making a very Viking themed music video for that song. It's a little late now, but we definitely had that in our heads when we were writing that song.
does your idea for how a song goes structurally or lyrically like ever start off with like a preconceived idea? Like do you think about it before you start executing it, or does things just happen naturally and you kind of let like what I like to say happy accidents sort of form?
Both.
Both, for sure.
Yeah. There's times where Carla and I, what we'll do is we'll get together and, we live in separate parts of the country now, but even when we were home, like we would write separately and then we'd get together and kind of compare notes. And it's so funny because our subjects are always really similar. So I'll be like, oh, I have this song kind of written in this vein. And she's like, oh shit, so do I. So to us, that's really fun too. Or we'll come up with a theme for the song or an emotion for the song. And we'll put, the timer on 10 minutes and we'll free write. And a lot of the time, the stuff that we free write about is almost exactly the same. So it's really fun for us to write together because it's also like an experiment, like two best friends who basically have the same brain.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes out that way, but there's also times where you might be listening to the music over and over and over again, and you can't really like you can't go in there with anything you have in your book already because nothing fits the vibe, and so something will just pop out, like you said, like a happy accident.
I
Well,
think the last couple times we've written, we've pretty much avoided any of our old stuff that we've had written in our notebooks for years, and we just went for new thoughts, new feelings, and it's been pretty fun to do that too. After years of, we have these giant books, and we go flipping through them for little tidbits here and there that we can put together. But it's nice to not have that and just to start from a fresh, clean, blank page and go from there.
Yeah.
and I'd imagine, do you sometimes like have a lyrical idea that could influence the direction of the music itself in a way, or do you prefer to have like an arrangement before you come up with lyrics? Because nothing could be more heartbreaking than having the best lyrics ever, and then they're always like one syllable over like every arrangement you have.
Yeah, you have
Well,
to adjust a lot, but you can't be, especially when you're working with two vocalists, you can't be really partial to a line that you write. It can be an awesome line as far as poetry or, for a book or whatever, but it may not fit perfectly into a song. A song is more than that, and it's like the way the words put together make you feel. So sometimes you have to adjust a few things, adjust a few syllables, or say something different. And that's something that I think that we had to get over in the beginning. And we got over it pretty fast. Like if I have a line that I think is fucking awesome, but Heidi, says, well, it'll be better if we change this. I'm not going to sulk about that. Now after 12 years of writing together, I'm going to be like, yeah, that's actually, you're right. That's fucking cool. Let's do it like this. And it makes the song better. Sometimes Henry will adjust a lyric or write a fucking bomb chorus that makes everything completely change and different. A band is a collaborative effort. And when you bring something in and everybody plays with it, picks it apart and adjusts it, that doesn't take away from what you did. It just enhances it and makes it better.
I think that's the beautiful thing about being in a band, and I think that's you know uh, if people don't have that in their project, I feel bad for them because I've grown so much as a person, working with other people in a creative space. Because a lot of people could walk away super butthurt, but we
Yeah.
have learned over the years that we respect. There's a reason we chose to be in this band together. We respect each
Yeah.
other's ideas and opinions. You know, there's a song called "Burn the Straw Man," which was on our on Lilith, our third album, and it's a song that kicks off at the very beginning. And we had this idea for the lyrics, and Henry had this awesome idea for a pattern, and the lyrics didn't really fit the pattern quite right, so we had to adjust things quite a bit to make it fit. But once you hit that sweet spot, everybody knows it's right. Same with the song Monsters Ball. Henry was like, all right, this is it. He had this he does this on his phone. He'll like, you know, and then he's like, and he had the idea for Can't Stop Moving, No You Can't Stop, you know. And Carla and I are like, all right, let's fucking roll with it. We could feel that sweet spot, you know. And even though like we didn't write those lyrics, we didn't write that chorus, he wrote that whole thing, and we just knew that this is the sweet spot. That's what a band does. And I'm never gonna be like I'm never gonna let my ego try and take over the, you know, what the song deserves.
Absolutely. It's a very organic process. And this, you actually both led me perfectly into the question like I had in mind from the start of this interview, because every band I've noticed, I'm always curious about this with bands with multiple vocalists, whether it's Lacuna Coil or Despised Icon or From Ashes to New, because to me, the sound of Butcher Babies, even though I've talked about how all your albums, you know, do have their own things that make it stand out, to me, one thing that always ties in the Butcher Babies sound together is both of your vocal abilities. I know who's singing, and I think you two singing together is really the ultimate sound of Butcher Babies. Do you both need to be in like the same headspace or be in the same state of mind when either writing the lyrics or tracking the vocals or even singing together on stage in order to make the song like sound more consistent, or like everything sort of fits together?
Well, as far as stage, I think that we get in the same headspace we always get ready together for the show. We sit in the back room of the bus together and we kind of bond, listen to some of our favorite songs, our pre-show jams, and connect with each other. And then it's natural on stage. I mean, it's natural anyways, but that bonding time before, to me, is very important in, you know, kind of getting our headspace the same. You know, in the writing process, you're not always going to be in the same headspace when you walk in the room. You know, everyone has a different day. You could have a bad experience before, a good experience before, that affects your attitude going in. But generally, when we start working together, we are able to push everything aside because, again, we are friends, and, you know, we love being together. We've created a very comfortable atmosphere. So no matter what else is going on, we can focus and concentrate and say, hey, let's just, you know, be in the moment together. And that helps, like, growing together over the years and being able to be in that space and not feel awkward writing together, or like, what are they going to think of this? Like, we don't think that way anymore. So we are very much able to be in the same headspace.
And I'll say this, in the recording process, our first EP we recorded while we were both at the studio at the same time. I like to be there while she's doing her vocals, and I really like her to be there while I'm doing my vocals, because it, like, just because it's my part of the song doesn't mean that I wrote that part. Just because I'm singing it doesn't mean it came out of my brain, you know? And, or also, like, this is a collaborative thing. So I like my band members to be there, at least Carla and Henry, to be there while I'm recording my vocals. And I like to be there when Carla's doing it, because like 9 times out of 10, if something's not hitting right, I'll be the one to be like, hey, producer, you're missing this, you know, because I know how this is supposed to sound. I know, like, you know, our abilities as vocalists, because if we're working with a new producer or a new songwriter, with, you know, collaborating with another songwriter, they don't know what, like, I know what Carla's thinking. She knows what I'm thinking, vice versa. And so in the recording process, I do want my band there. But in our first album, I wasn't there while she was recording her vocals, and she wasn't there while I was recording mine. And I think that I look back at a lot of these songs and I don't have the same love and you know, excitement about the recordings as I do about the other ones, because of the memories, you know.
Which, well,
Yeah.
I thought when I was looking at the tour that you have up and coming, Butcher Babies versus Goliath, I totally misread it. I actually just realized this last minute. I thought it was meant to be you're performing Goliath and in full, but then I realized it's not 10 years old yet. So like, but I'm curious to what the set list is going to be with the word Goliath on that tour flyer.
Oh, we are doing it in its entirety.
Oh, you are?
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah, well, the thing is that we did it over the pandemic. We did a live stream of it because we thought it would be fun, and people were fucking crazy. And another thing too is like we wrote these songs over 10 years ago, so for us revisiting them in the pandemic really was taking it back 10 years. Some of those songs we've never even played live before. So we're really, really excited about diving into it. But yeah, we're playing it in full, but we're also playing a bunch of other shit too.
Yeah.
But it is fun, and yeah, it is a little like early. It did come out in 2013, but we already, we crossed that bridge for our live stream, and people really, really loved it. People were so excited about hearing those songs live. And not only that, but Carla and I have really progressed as vocalists since that was recorded. And so I don't know, maybe we'll get a live album out of it to be released at the 10-year. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, can't speculate. This interview is going to be uploaded by midnight. You can't give too much away yet. But
that's actually just popped out of my brain just now. So I think maybe you just inspired that. Who knows? We'll see.
The plot thickens, the ideas unfold. And what I like about this tour is I feel like that this is a great tour where like everybody who's going to show up early and catch every band on the tour, because I mean every band on this package is epic. But you've played with a variety of different bands too. Like, I mean, at Mayhem Fest you were performing before, what was it, like Machine Head and Job for a Cowboy, and then you were performing, then the last time I saw you was on a tour with Nonpoint. And then now you're doing this tour with Stitched Up Heart and Infected Rain. Like, have you noticed maybe a different audience or a different type of maybe reaction depending on like the bills that you've played on?
Oh, of course. There's always a different reaction to, in this particular tour, people are really excited about it. Infected Rain has never done a tour in the States before, so we're excited to bring them along. Stitched Up Heart are old friends. And, as much as I hate saying female-fronted genre, female-fronted metal, there is a certain kind of fan that is obsessed with that genre, if you will, and they are so excited about this tour. But I think that, like, again, the draw that, Infected Rain has never been here before, and it's a total girl power tour, and we've never done that before. We've always actually avoided it because we didn't want to be the obvious, we're a female fronted genre. But I think it's cool. I think now we've grown up a lot and we've looked at things differently. And whereas before we would have said, like, I don't want to do that, I want to be different. I think that we've expanded our minds. We're like, why not? Why not celebrate all these amazing women in metal by bringing them all on one tour together?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always thought that term was I really thought that term was rather derogatory, and it also didn't make sense. Like, what does that mean? Because Stitched Up Heart sounds nothing like our arch enemy, and that sounds nothing like Ginger, and that sounds so like.
Well, I think it also discounts the men in the band. You know, it's like, just because you have a female vocalist doesn't mean you're a female metal band. But it is what it is, and if it brings someone in the door and they find our music because of that, then whatever.
I mean,
you're listen to Butcher Babies.
You're absolutely right about that, Carla. That's something that always bugs me, because like Henry is one of the very few good 8-string guitar players in metal at all, in any genre really, and he doesn't really get that recognition that he deserves because people are so focused on, there's it's female fronted. And I don't necessarily hate the term. I don't really care anymore. When we first started, of course, we were like, don't say that. Now I don't look at it as a negative thing. I look at it as this is and has been a movement that we've been a part of for 12 years now. So I'm not looking at this kind of offended that people would say female fronted. To me, like I said, it's a movement, and so that's fine. We sound different than Dorothy. Dorothy sounds different than, like you said, Arch Enemy, and like all these girls that are in the industry. Even though we sound different, we have created this little girls club where we support each other. And even the female guitar players, Nita Strauss, she said something to me one time that really hit me hard was, queens straighten each other's crowns. And I'll never forget that, because that's the reality of how it's been for us our entire careers. We've always gotten along with the girls in the bands and always been the supportive ones cheering each other on, and that's a beautiful thing. So I'm not offended by the term female fronted because I look at it as such a positive thing. We have a club. We
Yeah.
all sound different, but we have a club,
Yeah.
and we support each other. So
and with that label, I mean, nobody I know of is ever undermining the talent that all the vocalists that we just mentioned have. Like every single vocalist. First off, I love that saying "Queens straighten each other's crown." That needs to be a lyric or album title somewhere. But like, I just the lyricism that we've been hearing, and the constant rage in the metal world that we're seeing. I think just fuck the labels. It's just all talent in itself, and I'm very thankful. And you're right about what you said about Henry. I wanted to ask, is Henry like a diehard Meshuggah fan? Because like I just see that in his riffing. Like he is his riffs like are like almost kind of like Killswitch Engage meets sort of like Fear Factory in a way.
Yeah, he's very into that mathy type metal, Periphery, Animals as Leaders. He's just very, anything that's technical, his brain's just like, let me figure this out. That's how he's always been. I think, well, Carla and Henry have been friends for like 25 years or longer, and you guys first hung out, went to a Meshuggah show, right?
Yeah, we went to a Meshuggah show years ago. I still have the shirt from that show.
Really? Oh, 25 years ago?
I don't think it was 25 years ago. It was like around.
Oh, it was like 40 years ago.
It was like 2002, so it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was in second grade, so it was a long time ago. But this led me to my final question. But like, you have such a dedicated fan base, and I've always admired bands with a dedicated fan base. I'm the journalist at every show I go to, so my job is to interrupt people's conversations at the show and ask them, what's your favorite album by the band? How did you discover the band? And most importantly, what has the band done for you? And I've heard people connect with your music in a very significant way and really inspire them artistically and induce them with a lot of strength. I mean, when you hear that your music has made an impact on somebody's life, does it make you look at yourselves as an artist?
Well, to begin with, it made us kind of take what we do a lot more seriously. And, there's no secret that touring is sometimes very hard. You've got bad days, good days. But when you have a kid come up to you and with tears in their eyes telling you that, this song changed their life or helped them get through a hard period of their life, they're really connected.
Not even just kids.
Just kids. Women always, I'm in my mid 40s, older women that say to me, I needed a band like you guys when I was young, and you inspire me so much to know that I don't have to give up now. I can change my life again, even at this age. Though all these stories inspire me so much, and on hard days, it helps keep me going to the next show, and keep wanting to do this year after year after year, because it's like, nowadays, you're not making $1 million being a musician. You're away from your family. So it's those little things like that that really just fill you up and make you want to go out there and keep changing the world one person at a time, and to really, have that connection with people.
It's so weird. Recently, I posted it was just this random post on Instagram. I was driving down the street and Green Day came on the radio, and I was like, God, you know what? I'm still in my Green Day phase. Like, I still love every song. When it comes onto the radio, I turn it up to 11. And I was just like, what's everyone else's? It's not a phase, Mom. Band, a band that when you were, in high school was your go-to, and your parents were like, oh, it's just a phase, and it continues being your band. Someone wrote that they started listening to us when they were 12 and they're like an adult now, and I was like, oh my God, I'm that band.
It's insane. The best meme is when My Chemical Romance announced their reunion. Now, I grew up with MCR. Like, they started when I was in first or second grade, and they just have been part of my life. When they broke up, I was in college, and I was just like, oh, okay, I kind of like, took a break from them. As soon as they reunited, both myself and everybody who I went to high school with was bringing the eyeliner back. So it's never a phase, ever.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly. And I do have to say, as soon as we started realizing that not only did we have like kind of that responsibility, but it was kind of a role that we didn't really expect. We both started living our lives in a more positive manner, and I think that maturity that we were kind of thrust into, you can hear that in the progression of the songwriting. I can see it when I look at my Facebook memories. Like the way that I speak is completely different than, you know, a 20-year-old trying to be ironic. so, so it is amazing for people to say that, and it never gets old. I'm always grateful for it because when, like as Carla said, growing up, I could have used a band like this to show me that like chicks can do everything guys can do, and sometimes better. And so, and not only that, but also just like live free. Like we're not spring chickens, we're old ladies at this point, but we'll still get on stage and headbang with the kids. So I almost feel like it's a responsibility to show that just because we get older and just because there's a little bit more responsibility and other things, so we can always have that kid-like mentality when it comes to going and seeing your favorite band, and never let that kind of hype and that kind of excitement get old in our lives.
I've noticed that in the world of hardcore. Like I'm in the New York City hardcore scene, and I mean, there are people in their 60s who are still called hardcore kids. But like,
Mm-hmm.
what's a better label than that? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like, there's no such. What are you gonna be called, a hardcore senior citizen? Like, it just doesn't. It doesn't make sense. Like,
The
and
hardcore Middle Ages.
yeah, and the number one lesson we learned from Lemmy: if you think you're too old to rock and roll, yeah, you probably are. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I dig that.
So, before we go, I want to thank you both so much for your time today and for such an awesome discussion. I cannot wait to see you at Gramercy Theater. It's going to be an epic tour, epic venue. I'm so thankful I live 3 blocks away from the place. Is there just
Woo!
anything else with Butcher Babies you would like to promote with this tour, like where it starts, where it ends, and anything else you would like to plug?
Well, we start in West Virginia, Metal in the Mountains. We're hitting up all like the pretty much all the major festivals, and then we'll be ending at Aftershock Festival in Sacramento, which we're very very excited about, a return and a celebration of live music. New song coming out August 27th. Mark your calendars. It's exactly a month away from today.
Oh wow,
Woo!
So
pick the perfect date to do this.
it's a perfect time to start hyping it. The song's called "It's Killing Time, Baby." So
Oh wow, and uh,
yeah.
and Carl, I know you've been involved as well as like in punk rock and paintbrushes as well. Is there stuff with that you would like to plug as well?
We have an art show coming up on August 6th and 7th in the city. So you got to come since
Yep,
you're
I'll
right
be
around
there.
there.
Yeah.
It's on Canal Street. I can't remember the address right now, but it's flyers all over the internet. But yeah, it's going to be Charlie Benante and I from Anthrax are doing a duo art show in the city. So I'm so excited. We did it here in Chicago, and it was an absolute blast. Great turnout. So hopefully, all praying to the COVID gods that this is still going to happen in 2 weeks. But yeah, I'm really excited because having an art show in Manhattan is a pretty huge deal, and it should be really, really fun. So come.
Yeah, and Canal Street's the perfect place to do it. Randy Bly had his art show there. Sean Yasalt had her art show there. So Canal Street is like the metal art show. Uh,
Oh, really? I
yeah.
It's
didn't know
probably
that.
the
Yeah,
same place.
Sacred Tattoo. They don't have the gallery there anymore, so I don't think it's the
Oh.
same place. But there needs to be like an art show for all metal musicians, like John Baisley's artwork, Jacob Bannon's artwork, Mike D'Antonio's artwork, like all together.
well,
And like,
we were gonna do a show with Clown from Slipknot, and but they're busy still recording, so they couldn't do this one. But that's in the works too. So I think that like a big metal art show combining a ton of people would be really awesome somewhere cool.
yeah,
But doing one with Charlie is real special because we created so much artwork together during the pandemic, and he's a great artist. So
yeah. And look forward to seeing it. But thank you all so much, everybody. We are here with the Butcher Babies. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.